I invite you to imagine this. If the COVID-19 pandemic had happened, do you think that you would be in contact with more people than you are currently? Social distancing has undoubtedly become the new norm of society. Maintaining a safe distance from the people around you goes a long way in safeguarding yourself from the malicious coronavirus. But, but along with this physical barrier, it has caused us to become socially distant with other people, causing us to rely on social media communication and video calls to remain connected. But can we call these connections real? What is the defining factor that sets apart the superficial connection from the real one? Well, the answer is interest. Now, let me take the example of someone we all know and love. Someone who jumps out of his skin to see you. Someone who covers your face with slobber. Yes, I'm talking about man's best friend, the dog. Now, if a dog can realize that displaying genuine interest in people can be rewarding, why can't we? And you may be wondering why I compare us, intelligent humans, with dogs. Well, I don't know about the rest of you, but I prefer a genuine animal over some of the venomous reptiles we meet in our day-to-day lives. Moving on. Taking an interest in people allows them to take an interest in you. If you take an interest in their sport or their passion, they'll automatically respond in kind and take an interest in you. Now, how do we retain these connections that we have made using this complex technique? Well, this can be done through the power of empathy, storytelling, and learning from our failures, all indispensable skills in both our professional and our private lives. To be able to empathize with someone and share someone else's sorrows is an incredible asset in relationship building. Being able to give someone sympathy and the validation that they crave is like giving someone dying of thirst a gallon of fresh water. In fact, the thirst of the soul is more searing and parching than thirst of the flesh can ever be. Let me examine this a bit better with the help of an example, a thought experiment, if you may. Are there any volunteers in the audience who are willing to help me with this? You can just raise your hand. Anyone? Someone? Lovely. Thank you. Why don't you tell me your name? Sorry? Arnav. Okay. Thank you, Arnav. So, why don't you go ahead and read that for me in a very convincing tone, yeah? Oh, I scored an A star. That sounds like a personal problem. Do you like that? You like that? Did any of you like that? The way I treated him? No. Well, the sad reality is, many of us would respond with something thoughtless like that. Instead, you could say something like this. I understand how you feel. And if I was in your position, no doubt I'd feel terrified. No matter what happens, you have my full support. What a different approach, right? Now that is the power of empathy. Moving on to storytelling. According to harvardbusiness.org, storytelling is one of the most powerful means that leaders have to teach, inspire, and influence. Through these anecdotal experiences, we can see life through the eyes of someone else, which is incredibly important in today's day and age. Seeing as Steve Jobs' early years was filled with hungry nights and depressing days, I was going to use his inspirational example to segue into dealing with failure. Then a thought occurred to me. We're all simply high school students just finding our way through life. Even when adults aren't able to replicate what he did, how can we be expected to do so? So let me talk about someone you may be able to relate to a bit more easily. In fact, you're hopefully listening to him speak right now. So before you start thinking, well, you're on the stage and you're wearing a fancy suit, it's easy for you to speak. I assure you, I did not get here without facing my fair share of failure, and I'm sure none of the other speakers did either. So moving on to the experience. Earlier this year, I applied to be a speaker for TEDxJazz, my own school. I sat for hours on end, thinking about each and every word to put into my application. In fact, I'd type a few words and then I hit backspace on all of them, clear the entire thing, and go write it all over again. Now, although I passed the first round, I received a nasty wake-up call in the form of rejection for the second round. But did I let this weigh on me? No, not one bit. I asked for feedback from the organizers, and I used that as a platform to build upon for this very event. Now I stand before you as a speaker to the testament, as a testament to the power of failure. How do you like that personal story of mine? I'm sure it is vastly more impactful than simply telling you that you can learn from a failure. Now that is the power of storytelling. Now moving back to my point about failure. Failure is a vehicle for development in life. Some of life's greatest inventions were failures. So Alexander Fleming discovered the world's first antibiotic, penicillin, in a contaminated petri dish that he had thrown away. Thomas Edison was expelled from his school and ridiculed for inventing the light bulb. And yet, he illuminated the world. I found this acronym that aptly summarizes failure in my opinion. First attempt in learning. Now, at this point, I would like to clarify. By failure, I not mean not studying for an exam or forgetting to turn in an assignment. Failure is the result of taking a risk in life and trying something new. Which brings me to my next point, curiosity and the appetite for trying new things in life. Whether it be a show, a book, a fine art, or anything under the sun, or not for that matter, adding that experience to your life greatly benefits you. It makes your life that much more fulfilling, and you've acquired a skill and some knowledge that you can demonstrate to others. And ask yourself, what do you have to lose? Frequently, the answer will be a bit of your time and a bit of your resolve. Now, what do you stand to gain? Absolutely everything. And these skills don't just help you in your personal life. Studies show that employers highly value skills like empathy, storytelling, and dealing with failure, as they are the cornerstones of innovation and greatness. And they are also what set us apart from the machines that will soon be replacing many of our jobs in the workplace. Before the Wright brothers caressed the great blue sky, people thought that flight would be impossible for another 100 years. Before Alexander Graham Bell sent his voice over the miles, people thought that communication would be limited to telegrams and letters. Now, if I had to stand here and list every single path-breaking invention that shifted the paradigm and the thinking of people, my 18-minute time limit would definitely not suffice. So why do I talk about these great inventors? Well, they all had one thing in common. They weren't afraid to try something new. And without curiosity and an appetite for trying new things, you will never progress further than you are today. So allow me to leave you with this small piece of advice. If there's anything you take away from the speech, it should be this. Try something new every single day. Life is extremely short, and you never know what you'll discover about yourself. Most importantly, don't be afraid to fail, because a failure will teach you much, much more than a success ever will. And by doing this, you can decrease the social distance between you and your loved ones, which in my opinion is the essence of social distancing. Thank you.